Mamelodi Sundowns were taking on Miguel Cardoso's old team Esperance de Tunis in the quarterfinals. And then you've got Orlando Pirates, who are taking on MC Algers, the current champions of Algeria and also log leaders in that league as well. What do you make of this draw for both teams?
First for Paris, I think they faced a side that struggled to score in the group phases of the Champions League, and they barely just made it themselves, scoring only 4 goals, if I'm not mistaken, in the entirety of the group phases, which means they're not necessarily sharp in this particular competition. Obviously, in their home league, being top of the table, they're finding the back of the net quite easily. So I think the edge goes to us in terms of, I think our fast-flowing football has been somewhat of a new thing in Africa. They're not used to the style of play that we exhibit. So I think, Jay, also being a little biased as well, I think Paris have got one of the better names from that draw in terms of who you can come up against. So I think, Jay, still Paris to do something, and I think it'd be great if they made it to the semis from this point onwards. But in the semis, then lies either ES Rabat or you've got Pyramids waiting. So that's another tough hurdle to have. But I think at this point in time, I think we need to build momentum in the league, build momentum in the Nedbank Cup, so that when basically you need to peak at the right time. That's how you need to time your league. I mean, Sundowns are running smoothly in the league, so maybe they need to peak specifically for Africa because that's what Cardoso was brought in for. So I think Pirates can win this one. I think they're favorites, obviously, because of being seeded first, finishing first in their group, scoring the goals. I think they win this game, and obviously with the bias. With Sundowns, they didn't score that many goals themselves in the group stages, but the addition of Adams, I think, is in a different look because he's come through and he's hit the ground running, found the back of the net as well in the PSL. Reynars, Charlides also had some rejuvenation in him. Tashrik Matthews coming back for Sundowns, I think, is important as well. And so I think even against Esperance, which is a tough side, Cardoso coming back to his old side to face them again and replay the game that they played last season, I still think Sundowns have got the firepower, Jay. And I think as tough as Esperance are, and both teams have been there, done that, they've got the pedigree, they've got the history, I think Sundowns got the firepower, Jay, on the day. And with what they're looking like now for Post Galaxy, I mean, I know the game is in April, but I think they're looking good for the draw.
It is as tough a draw as you can get if you're Mamelodi Sundowns because it is Esperance, the team that knocked you out in the semi-final last season, and then the way you expect things to go, it would be Al Ahly in the semi-finals, and these two teams are 2 of the 4 teams who are going to represent Africa in the Club World Cup, and they're also the last 2 teams to win the Champions League. So it doesn't come any tougher than this. But Chuck, I am someone who's of the opinion that if you are at a tournament to win it, it does not matter who you get because you have to play and beat everybody eventually. And you might as well do it right now, right? I don't believe in the idea that you're trying to get an easy draw. If you're only trying to get to the semifinals, Sundowns have been in the semifinals the last 2 seasons. They haven't been back to a final since winning the Champions League. If the idea is that, just want to go as far as possible, then yes, react to the draw that you got. Like, you could have gotten easier opposition. But if the goal is to win the tournament, then this is the opposition. These are the guys who've won the tournament. These are the guys you're going to have to beat anyway. Whether you meet them in the quarters, the semis, or the final, you're going to come across one of these teams. It's the same thing we saw last season and the last 2 seasons in the European Champions League. When Dortmund got to the final, yes, you could say, yes, there definitely was an easier side to the draw. But then you meet Real Madrid in the final. You know, for them, maybe where they didn't start the campaign as thinking of winning the Champions League, that's a good season, you know. But that's not the mandate at Mamelodi Sundowns. And with regards to the quarterfinal opponent, specifically Esperance, this is the old team of Miguel Cardoso. Miguel Cardoso is at Sundowns to win the Champions League. Let's not mince things. Let's not get it twisted. Let's not have different ideas. Yes, the league is important. And as a Sundowns fan, I'm someone who's never going to take winning the league for granted. And you win that, it's a successful season. I do believe it's a successful season. But I'm only going off of what the messaging has been from management and ownership. Because if you fire Rulani after the season that he had, the idea is that the only reason you fired him is because he didn't win the Champions League. And then you had Umanqoba Mngqithi in an interim basis, as we found out. He was beaten in the cup final, in the Carling Cup final, but was doing well in the league. But you fired him. And you went and you got a Miguel Cardoso. And the history that you have with this coach is that this is the coach that was coaching the team that knocked you out in the Champions League. So this is why he's here, Chuck. And for me, this is ultimately how you judge him, right? he has to advance past Esperance and past Al Ahly, if Al Ahly is there in the semi-finals, and then go on to win the Champions League. Because otherwise, again, going off of what we've seen from management, he's not worth his employment at Sundowns. And then in terms of Orlando Pirates, I do think on paper they did get a favourable draw, but this is the Champions League. Nothing is easy in the Champions League. But I do think that the quarterfinals falling at the stage that they happen might actually help Pirates, because we're gonna know some things about where they are in relation to Mamelodi Sundowns in the chase for the Premier League title. If it looks more obvious that Sundowns are gonna go and win the title, Sundowns are on course for 80 points in the PSL. If that continues and Pirates continue to lose ground, or they do lose ground, then maybe a decision needs to be taken that all our eggs are in the basket of the Champions League. And if that's the case, you can focus in on these teams. And I do think on paper, again, Orlando Pirates and what I've seen of them in this current season look odds on to advance past Algers in the quarterfinals and whoever is waiting for them in the semifinal. And because it's a home and away tie in the final, again, I repeat, the Orlando Pirates faithful, Escotini, is an advantage. That is proper home ground advantage in the local league and on the continent. And because we've seen this team under Rivero win cups, this is another cup competition. There's a great opportunity. There is a great opportunity. So there is a great opportunity, but let's not downplay the opposition, because again, this is the Champions League, and a lot can happen between now and when they played. And these are good teams. They didn't just happen upon this stage by fluke. So it will take winning these games, but they do have a good opportunity. And on the Sundowns side, as I say, no excuses. It does not matter that they have a tough draw, which they do have, but they are in this competition to win it, and they've not done it for going on 9 years now. And the coach that they hired, the mandate is very clear. The KPI that we're interested in is that second star. So the pressure is on. Go and win that second star.
Okay, if Caruso loses to Paris in the final, do you fire him? Is that still not good enough?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't have fired Rulani either, right? But based on what we've seen from management, you have to, because what's going to be your justification? No, he went a step further and he went to the final. Still not winning it, guys. Especially if you lose it against your rivals, right? It feels as though, Chuck,
if you lose more.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll tell you as a fan, as someone who lived through, what was it, 21 years of we are the only team with a star. We're going to hear we're the only team with 2 stars, and you guys have been in the Champions League so for so long. You've been qualifying out of the group stages, and then we are back for the first time in however many years, and we just go and do what we do and win a second star. You cannot live that down.